Okay. What was segregation like for you?
I have never lived in a place where segregation was the law. The segregation that I've experienced is the segregation that people choose. So like I said, when I was with the rich kids in elementary school, I was never invited to a birthday party. I was never invited to a sleepover. They understood that I was there for school, and they were nice to me during that time. But beyond that, I didn't exist. I didn't play on teams with them. I wasn't in Girl Scouts with them. I was not part of their world, and it was very clear. So it was still a type of segregation. It wasn't legalized. It wasn't written on any books, and I don't even know that anyone really decided that we're not inviting the black girl to this event or that event, but it's just the way that it was. That was the way that things still were, one generation after legal segregation. When I went to school with the poor kids on the other side of town, it was a little bit different. They were more hateful. I, again, was with them on a day-to-day basis at school, but I wasn't hanging out with them after school. Some of them I couldn't hang out with because their parents wouldn't let them. The KKK was still active in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We were the only black family in the neighborhood that we lived in. I heard the N-word on a daily basis from white kids' mouths for about 5 years of my life. Not legalized segregation, but still the impact is the same. You've got white kids who think that they're too good to spend time with you. You've got white kids that think it's okay to talk crazy to you. And you've got a structured system where people are not making sure that everyone is treated fairly. And so that's the way I've experienced segregation. It's been something that is institutional and something that is habit formed, but not something that was legal. It was different for my mother, who has told me stories when she went to Mississippi when she was a little girl, and black people could only go into town to do their shopping on Saturdays, and they had to be out of town by sundown. It was called a sundown town, and that was written into the rules. That was the law in the town. Black people could not go into the grocery store, they could not go into the drugstore until Saturday, and they could only be in town until sundown, and then they had to be out or something bad would happen. That was the law. So I don't know what it's like to live with that, but I do know what it's like to live with the history and heritage of it that still carries on with us today.
Okay. Have you been involved in any civil rights organizations?
I have. The last couple of years I've been a member of the NAACP, and I was here for a long time in Dubuque before actually joining. I helped with some of their activities over the years. I was a judge for the Martin Luther King essay contest. I helped do the program and the newsletter and things for them because I recognized that they were an important group in the community. But for a long time, I couldn't see the need for an NAACP in the 21st century. I thought, my mother had it the way that she had it, and I had it the way that I had it, and I know that there are still issues with race. I know there's still discrimination and problems in communities, but I felt like the problems had changed in a way that the NAACP was not changing with it. And so for a long time, I thought I wouldn't ever join the NAACP because we need something different, something new to deal with the kind of institutionalized racism that exists, the internalized oppression that takes place in the black community, the sorts of things that go on a regular basis that are different from what we used to be able to just file lawsuits for. You can't file a lawsuit for someone who just thinks they're better than you and treats you like crap unless they're calling you a name or denying you a job or something like that. You can't really go into court with that. And so there's this more subtle mental oppression that's still taking place. And I didn't think that the NAACP was responding to that need. So for a long time I didn't join. And 2 years ago, the president, Ms. Ruby, who I admire very much, just looked at me and said she was tired. She's a lovely lady who's up in her 60s and should be retiring, but she was still the president because no one else would take the job. And so I said, you know, I will take the job. And as I stepped in just to help her out, I realized that the only way that the organization is going to change is for people like us who know what's happening now in the world to get in there and change the organization. And so I have no regrets that I did join, and there have been changes and there have been efforts at addressing what's going on now. Last year, the NAACP went around the country and they held funerals for the N-word, which is a really interesting process. There's always that debate about who should use it and who shouldn't, and when is it okay. And they took it around and talked about the power of the word and the meaning of the word, and has it changed, and does it matter if it has an ER or an A on the end, and who can say it and who can't. And they really held some important discussions that I thought were important. It was the first time for me that I really recognized that the group itself on a national level was changing and really looking at things that are happening right now. And it's not just about historical information anymore. It's about dealing with the issues that Black folks have right now, and I think that's important.
Okay. And what organization are you or have you been involved in, and why?
Well, as I said, the NAACP. Also in this community, there's a group called Faces and Voices, which is a diversity initiative. They do programs like the Martin Luther King Breakfast, which we do every year, and we have about 400 or 500 people who attend. It's a huge event for the community. I help with the diversity conference when they do that, human rights banquet when they do that. And so that's a group in our community here in Dubuque. I've worked with the Human Rights Commission, which deals with all sorts of issues of diversity in addition to race, nationality, religion, sexual orientation, because all of those things are tied together. So I've been active in those ways on a local level. Hold on for a second. Is that my phone?
Why did you choose to get involved in an organization?
I think it's important to be involved because the only way to see the changes that we want to have is to make them happen. Where I learned that lesson earliest was when I was in college and I pledged a sorority, Zeta Phi Beta. And I learned from my brothers and sisters in that organization, Phi Beta Sigma and Zeta Phi Beta, that an organization is what you make it. A lot of people, particularly in the Black community, will sit around and complain about the way that they see the world and the things that are going on, but don't do anything about it. And when I was in college and I was looking around and who was complaining and who was actually doing something, Zeta Phi Beta and Phi Beta Sigma were out there doing it, and I wanted to be a part of it. But in that process, I learned that it wasn't just about being part of a group and identifying yourself with it for doing the work. And so I've used that to take me into my approach to life. It's about the work that you do and the impact that you have. And so it's not enough for me to be here and even just have my job at Clarke where I want to make a difference in students' lives. I have to make the community better for the students that I work with. And in order to do that, I've got to join whatever's going on and help to make it better.